start again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing whether or not DeMar DeRozan can repeat his level of play from this season heading into next season, and what that could potentially mean for the Chicago Bulls overall. Now, at the end of the day, DeMar DeRozan came out to be our best player, in all honesty, last season, and I think it's been one hell of a signing that we've done in free agency, and we're going to be talking about what could potentially be done and whether or not his level of play can stay the same heading into next season. Next season is very important for the Chicago Bulls. Hopefully everybody will be healthy from the very beginning, and hopefully we can have a team that will be ready to go for the whole season and at least stay healthy towards the end of the season as well, where DeMar DeRozan won't have to carry a lot of that load in the NBA playoffs and towards the end of the season like he did this year. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about whether or not you think DeMar DeRozan will be consistent from last season to this season. He pretty much, in my opinion, had one of his best seasons in the NBA, was top 3 in the MVP for a long period of time, and I think many people are starting to give DeMar DeRozan that respect that he really deserves. Let's talk about his season overall. He played 76 games for the Chicago Bulls, and he averaged 27.9 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, 4.9 assists, shooting 50.4% from the field and 35.2% from the three-point line. Very good numbers from DeMar DeRozan, from the playmaking side to the rebounding side to obviously the incredible points tally. Did it in his own way, did it in the mid-range, did it from slashing, did it from his own scoring ability. Sometimes it was one-on-one, sometimes it was more in transition as well. DeMar DeRozan really did a lot for the Chicago Bulls team last season. And I do want to kind of, first and foremost, recommend that you go watch what DeMar DeRozan had to say on the Draymond Green Podcast. I'm not sure the exact name. I'm pretty sure it's just called the Draymond Green Podcast or whatever it is. But DeMar DeRozan was a recent guest on that Draymond Green Podcast. Incredible conversation. He went really deep into some of those conversations, and I thought that was a really inspiring interview that he did, and it was over an hour long, so we got to see a lot of DeMar DeRozan as well. If you haven't already seen that, I know most of you would have already seen it because everybody's really in touch with the Chicago Bulls if you're a Bulls fan. But if you haven't, please go and watch it, because I think a lot of the details that he's brought to that interview played a factor in how he actually played this year as well. Now, I'll touch on some of it a little bit later, but yeah, it's an incredible interview. He went really deep. It was a very personal interview. It was very, in my opinion, inspiring as well. It was a great interview to watch. Please go and watch that. I would be more than happy if you clicked off this video now and watched that interview, because I think a lot of people would take a lot from that. But nevertheless, let's talk about DeMar DeRozan's season for the Chicago Bulls. As I said before, probably the best season he's had in his NBA career. I don't think there have been many times where DeMar DeRozan has really put, a foot forward where he's been an MVP caliber player. And this season, he's proven to be that type of player. Now, ultimately, at the end of the season, where things kind of died down for the Bulls and even died down for DeRozan, he kind of fell away from that MVP category. But he's proven, in my opinion, to many people that he at least belongs in that conversation as one of the best players in the NBA. And the fact that he's on this team, in my opinion, he's changed the way the Bulls kind of see how our team is looked. At the end of the day, coming into this season, DeMar DeRozan was considered the worst free agency signing, and we're still ranked 11th in terms of the Eastern Conference. I think we've proven a lot of people wrong by finishing 6th in the Eastern Conference, and DeMar DeRozan was in the MVP category for most of the year. So two things instantly: DeMar DeRozan has come into this team and changed the narrative of how people see this team, and obviously changed the narrative about himself as well, and how people view him. So he's done an incredible thing this year. And I guess the question now goes, will DeMar DeRozan be very similar, will be consistent heading into next year? And I have a lot to dive into in relation to this, because I already know what DeMar DeRozan will bring as a player. I feel like at the end of the day, his playmaking side of things is something he learned from the San Antonio Spurs days of being under the Greg Popovich system. He's learned how to become a very good playmaker for his position. His scoring was always there, but he's just taken it to another level with this team. He's become a really clutch player, and he's really had something to prove. He mentioned a lot how he felt the shift change in his Bulls career against that New York Knicks game where he airballed that shot. I'm sure most of us remember that shot. The first time we lost the game, I believe, was against that New York Knicks team. We lost that game from an airball buzzer beater, but from an airball shot by DeMar DeRozan that could have been a buzzer beater. But He said that he felt the shift change from there and that the people of Chicago kind of expect a lot more from what they've already seen in the past and stuff like that. In my opinion, I think DeMar DeRozan has kind of shifted how we view things as well. I know many people said, the ghost of Michael Jordan chasing that legacy, being able to do what Michael Jordan was able to do for the Chicago Bulls team. But in all honesty, we've not seen that for a long time. And I know that's what Bulls fans want to see going forward. We want to see great players make great plays. We want to see those highlight moments. We want to see those moments you can tell stories about. You want to see the greatest players play on this team and stuff like that. You want to see history. You want to see championships. These are what Bulls fans all want to see. But we've not seen that in a long time. So I feel like DeMar DeRozan isn't really giving himself enough credit as well in this instance and saying that the Bulls fans expected a lot. But we expect a lot because DeMar DeRozan is here as well. And he's a great player in his own right. So he's done a lot of good things in that avenue as well. And we know what he brings to the table. And I think next year, you're going to see something very similar out of DeMar DeRozan, in my opinion. But I'm talking about now the level of consistency out of DeMar DeRozan. Do you think he'll be this consistent going forward? My answer is probably, but I also feel like if we see a little bit less from DeMar DeRozan, that's not going to be the worst thing in the world either. And the reason why I say that is because DeMar DeRozan was the guy that we relied on. He was the guy that really, took us and made us, a relatively sustainable team. Again, we had so many injuries, so many bad health issues as well on this team. Again, a lot of protocol issues as well, which DeMar DeRozan himself did suffer this season. The only reason why he missed games pretty much was because of that being out for protocols. And I think he had one game after that he missed also. But again, very durable player. He was the consistent on this team. I think him and Vucevic were really the guys that we looked up to in terms of being consistently there for a long period of time alongside of Ayo Dosunmu as well. A lot of guys kind of, unfortunately, in different times as well, took time off, took multiple weeks off and stuff like that, and it hurt the Chicago Bulls team in the long run. But I think health-wise, we'll probably still see DeMar DeRozan where he is. We'll still see DeMar DeRozan doing his thing. But if we wanted to see this team, go to another level, I feel like we won't necessarily see DeMar DeRozan average 28 points per game next year. But we will see a lot of team contributors as well, like a Patrick Williams that was out for so long, like Zach LaVine when he's fully healthy, like Vucevic when he's not too inconsistent, like Lonzo Ball when he's healthy, and like the rest of the team when they're healthy as well. I don't think we need to see DeMar DeRozan average 28 points per game to really get us to where we need to go. Now, I love the fact that when we needed him, he stepped up. I don't think you can ever argue the fact that in the fourth quarter, he stepped up. He was the guy. He was the one that delivered. And although we could have had more of other people stepping up, DeMar DeRozan was always the constant that stepped up. And how he was named the king of the fourth quarter for a reason, because he's one of the clutchest players in the NBA this year. No doubt about it in my mind. But where we need to go as a team, you don't necessarily need to see DeMar DeRozan average 28 points per game. It would be nice if he could do that alongside of adding more onto this team, more contributors there. That would be the best case scenario in the world. But if DeMar DeRozan goes from a 28 point per game scorer to a 25 point per game scorer, let's say, but you've got other players around this team making more contributions everywhere else around the court as well, I think DeMar DeRozan is going to have a very similar, if not better season next year, in my opinion. I guess what I'm trying to say is the stats doesn't necessarily define what makes a good player have a good season. I don't need to see, next year, DeMar DeRozan averaged 25 points per game, and I'm sitting here and saying he's had a down year, or he's had a year that wasn't as good as his previous year. Maybe individually that might be true, but what if DeMar DeRozan averages 25, even 24 points? You can go that low, and all of a sudden, we're the first seed in the Eastern Conference. You've seen guys like Lonzo have extremely positive years. You've seen Vucevic get back to form. Obviously, Zach LaVine as well, leading the line for the Chicago Bulls as well. And everybody else are contributing, but DeMar DeRozan kind of takes a little bit of a hit in his own way. I think that's perfectly fine. And honestly, I think that's the team thing to do if you're DeMar DeRozan as well. And it might not be purposefully. At the end of the day, I feel like DeMar DeRozan, he does have times where he likes to take the game on individually and he likes to play those isolation. But the fact that this guy averages 5 assists as well shows me he can be a team player and he knows when to make the right plays and he knows that he can get teammates involved as well. So overall, I think consistency-wise, I think health-wise and durability-wise, we're going to see something very similar from DeMar DeRozan. But if we don't see the same scoring tally from last season to this next season, and we're still seeing that great success, I don't think that's the end of the world. And I honestly think it's a good thing that we've kind of, I guess, shared the load a little bit more and take a lot of pressure off of DeMar DeRozan, because as a team, it's meant to be a team game. It's not meant to be 2 versus 5 or 1 versus 5 out there. So in the fourth quarter, if we don't see DeMar DeRozan take every single shot in the fourth quarter, I'll be okay with that, because that means there are other players getting involved and other players stepping up to the plate as well. You got to look at all these things, in my opinion. So I don't think DeMar DeRozan is going to be a worse player next year. I don't think he's on a decline. I actually think, again, how he's 32 years old. Many people say he's entering out of his prime. And look, for most players, I'd say 80% of players that get to the age of 32, you'd say, yeah, he's probably getting out of his prime. He's probably not going to be the same player as he was in the next couple of years. But there are certain outliers to that situation, like a LeBron James, like a Kevin Durant, you could say, like a Stephen Curry. These guys are at very similar ages to DeMar DeRozan, still having amazing years and still winning NBA championships. I think DeMar DeRozan is going to be perfectly fine next year. I think he's going to have another great year for the Chicago Bulls. But I just hope the pressure's not all going to be on DeMar DeRozan. And that's why, if the stats are not really, I guess, better next year for DeMar DeRozan, but we're still where we need to be and we're still having great success, that's where I'm going to be very happy as well. If he still averages 28 points per game, if he averages more than that next season, and we still end up getting where we need to be, great. That's just DeMar DeRozan taking another step in terms of his NBA career, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the case. As long as we're successful, DeMar DeRozan will always be there and around, leading the team and being I guess, probably the best player on the team. So we have a lot to look forward to there. But overall, I'm very, very happy with DeMar DeRozan's first year, and I know we could see better out of DeMar DeRozan next year, and I think we will see better from DeMar DeRozan also. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Once again, I do recommend, please go watch that podcast from Draymond Green. At the end of the day, you may not like Draymond Green. You may like Draymond Green. That's not my place to say anything about Draymond Green whatsoever. I don't personally hate Draymond Green. But at the end of the day, I think he did a hell of a job with that interview. And I think DeMar DeRozan, again, it's an incredible interview to watch. If you're a Bulls fan, this is one you need to watch. So I highly encourage that you do so. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.